What is going on? Welcome to the Sync Producer Spotlight. I am Jason Dowty. If you don't know what the Sync Producer Spotlight is, what we do every other week or so, we bring somebody from the Sync Producer Hub community in and shine a spotlight on them and find out a little bit about their background, what they're doing with their music, what part of the journey that they're on, and what their plans are for the future. If you don't know what the Sync Producer Hub is, it's a community run by Anthony Clint Jr., where all of us music composers, musicians, music producers, we all get together and we find ways to get our music into TV and film and start collecting those royalties, right? So it's an amazing community. We're going to talk about it a little bit today. Today we have Steve Mochel. He is a long time member of, even before there was a Sync Producer Hub. You know, he was part of Anthony Clint Jr.'s atmosphere, right? Took probably the road to 10 placements courses, all of those types of things. So he's a little bit further on his journey. So he'll be able to give us a lot of feedback on what it's actually like, you know, the how long it takes, how you have to plant those seeds and watch them grow and all of that. Going to give us a realistic view of the work and dedication and consistency that it takes, but also let us know how bright the future is when you do that. All right. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring him on. What's going on, Steve?
Hey, how are you?
Doing good, man.
I got to live up to that intro now.
You don't have to live up
Jesus,
to
man.
anything, man.
All right.
All you got to do is yap about your music.
I'm happy to do that anytime.
All right. I do want to say what's up to KJ Lighthouse, Michael Connor. Michael Connor music is in the house as well. He's the one that made that amazing intro music.
Michael, that track is excellent. I loved it.
All right, and Janie HB. All right, welcome to the show. Welcome, Steve. So let me just start with this. What got you into music in the first place? Because I was reading a little bit about you, and I know that you kind of got your start into music. You took a big detour. So what got your let's go back, a few years, maybe when you were back in Chicago. What got you started into the whole music scene?
Oh, thank you. So I'm from Chicago originally, and I think like everybody, I took piano lessons. I played in band, and I think in high school is when it really started hitting me. And I played in a jazz band. I played trumpet and started writing, and that's really where my passion for music took off. I always wanted to play, but then when I was writing and had some charts played, and by the way, these are back in the days. These are the 80s, if I'm being honest. 80. Oh, geez. Yeah, a long time ago. And so it was a jazz band. And you guys probably all grew up in those. And so I was writing charts for 5 trumpets, 4 trombones, 5 saxes, rhythm section. And I was lucky enough to win my senior year Downbeat Magazine's Composer of the Year for the high school division, which was a really great moment for me because I, just kind of reaffirmed that I may be okay at this, and I got that award, and I had other charts published, and so that was really the start of my music career. I had a great music teacher in high school, like we all can look back to those people who are so important to us. Then went to college for what I thought was going to be originally music marketing at a small school in Decatur, Illinois called Millikan University, and they had an excellent music program, which is why I went there. Played in the jazz band for years, and then outside of that, I had the opportunity to have an internship a couple of summers in my college years with a guy in Chicago by the name of Dick Marks, which probably doesn't mean anything to anybody. But Dick's actually the father of Richard Marx, who is a big 90s pop star, heartthrob, and actually, honestly, an incredible songwriter and producer, if you really look at what Richard's all about. So Dick was the king of jingles in Chicago, and Chicago was a big jingle town. So, Snap, Crackle, and Pop, and all those jingles that you remember from the 80s and 90s, that was Dick. And so to be there in the summers, just hanging out and watching them create this music. And this is, by the way, when MIDI was just kind of coming together. So people were writing charts and doing sessions with musicians, and that just really got me hooked. And then got out of school and started my music career.
All right. Well, what did you do in your music career? So keep it going.
Well, so my parents were very happy when I called home my freshman year in college and said, listen, I don't want to be a music marketing major anymore. I'm going to be a marketing major, and I'm going to do music as a minor because I just don't see a use for this music degree that I'm trying to get. And so when I got out of school, I had a marketing degree. But I started, working in wedding bands and party bands and doing session work when there was that kind of stuff. And then really started doing a lot of writing and composing for commercials, what we called industrials, which are like corporate shows. So I did a lot of work then. And for about 3 years, did it as a living, made a living in Chicago as a musician. And then I had been married at that point very young, at 23. My wife at the time was saying, I don't like this idea of you being out every weekend for the next 50 years. And so I got into the corporate world, and actually kind of a tangential field, which was corporate events. And I was in that field for about 25 years doing big, corporate events. And you guys, if you've been to, done the corporate thing, you've probably been to a sales meeting or a product launch or something like that. And maybe there's entertainment. So that was what I did for 25 years, and played a little bit of music on the side, played a little bit in bands, but then had 2 kids and got through that. Ended up kind of moving. I went to Nashville. I went to Atlanta, got divorced, got remarried, and still very happily married to my wife now. But started a small business in 2008. I left the corporate world, started a small business, and have been running that business for the last 16 years. But what happened is our kids left the house. Our kids all went to college and left, and I had a lot of time on my hands, so I started getting back into music. And that's really, honestly, this is probably 3 or 4 years ago when I stumbled onto Anthony's classes and his TikToks. So you tell me when I should stop talking, by the way, because
Oh, no. Just keep going.
Well, I think, my son was trying to show me TikTok, and he said, and I couldn't understand it. And I'm like, what? And he goes, dude, put in, look for music producers. I'm like, oh, okay. Cause he knew I was a music producer and liked music. I said, oh, that's great. And that's when I saw Anthony's, and I think it was on TikTok and then Instagram. And I was like, oh, this is really interesting. And I had no idea. I mean, I knew what sync licensing was as a concept, but I didn't understand that was the terminology around it. And I watched his videos, and I was like, this makes a lot of sense, and this could be really fun. It just, you get to work in a lot of different styles. There's short tracks, which is like, okay, I can do a 2-minute track. And again, went through his courses, and this is when they were on, I forget what they were, but you bought them for $30 or whatever. And I just thought they were so well done. And I'll take a second here and just say I've just been so impressed with Anthony Clint, whatever we're calling him. I call him Anthony, but he's just such a real guy, and he's so good at what he does. And I just really what resonated with me was, and I said this to you, Jason, too, I feel it with you too, is that he just is a good guy trying to share what he knows and also learn from us. And you don't find that very often, particularly on Instagram influencers who are trying to sell music sync licensing courses. So I ended up taking his sync mastery class, which is the 12-week kind of intensive program. And that was really life-changing for me in terms of the sync world, because it was very serious. This is an expensive investment. But it's 12 weeks, and it's 50% music and it's 50% business. And, as we all know, both are equally important. And so that kind of was my starting ground for that. And I think I did that in 2023, with a couple other, good folks, and, finished that class, and then started off on my sync career after that.
All right. Wow. Okay, that's a lot.
No, sorry.
No, that's good. I want to dive back a little bit. One of my music teachers back in the day. So I'm going to take it back to when you got started.
Yeah.
One of my music teachers back in the day said that you don't choose music; music chooses you.
Mm-hmm.
It's like part of it. Just, I don't know, when you hear it, when you compose it, when you make it, it does something to you and your soul that makes you feel whole, right? And I think all of us probably in the hub, the reason we're in the hub is because we're all this way. And I've done something similar to you. Well, like I've sang for most of my life for a living. And then, the past, basically since I've done that, I ended in 2013. I'm on this like 13-year stretch now where I'm not doing music for a living. And at first it's like, oh, it's kind of a nice break. I don't have to sing for, I don't have to worry about if I have a cold or whatever.
Yeah.
And, it's learning some new skills and it's kind of fun and whatever. But then like as year after year goes on, you start to feel not whole because you're not doing music. I don't know if you felt like that during your stretch when you were doing corporate events and doing things like that, or if you felt fulfilled the whole time. I'm just kind of curious how it
Oh
went for
no,
you.
I definitely missed it. And I mean, the thing about doing the events was, for a long time we booked like major name talent and stuff like that. So I was working kind of adjacent, music adjacent, but
Okay.
it wasn't creating. And I think it was interesting. I was My wife and I went to Japan in May or April. I don't know. We went this year, and we had a conversation with this guy who was giving us a tour of these Zen gardens in Kyoto, and he was talking about the importance of a practice, right? Like you have to have a practice in your life. And I think to your point, all of us in the hub have been given this gift from whoever, whether you believe in God or whatever you believe in. It doesn't matter. We've all got this weird gift that music can come through us and we can make stuff, and it's a gift. I mean, it is. I don't know where this stuff comes from. You same thing. We all know the same changes, right? But Quincy Jones has a great quote that like melody comes from God, right? And it's true. Like when you get in the zone and you're writing a melody, I don't know where it's coming from. My point was, now that I'm doing it regularly, if I get away from it for 2 or 3 days, I notice my mood change.
Mm.
I notice that I need to do this for me. And like you said, it's chosen me, and I maybe squandered it for too long. So I think the point is, if you're doing anything with it, if you're doing one track a month, one track a year, it doesn't matter. If you're doing something, that's good. And so yeah, no, I totally agree with you. I think we all were given this gift, and we have a responsibility to use it.
Yeah.
At least I'm starting to think that way. I have less time on this earth in front of me than you do, but
Not much.
a good 10 years. We
Well,
already
who knows?
determined that. Yeah, right.
We,
Yeah, you
anybody,
know what? Who knows?
who knows? Yeah, anybody can get hit by a truck tomorrow. So, just take the time you have and embrace it and do what you can with it.
Yeah, yeah, but no, I totally agree with you. It just chooses you at a certain age. You just lock in and go, oh, I got to do this. And
Yeah.
it's interesting you say that too, because I don't know if you felt this, but when I was a working musician, I kind of lost the love for music that I have now. And that was because, and maybe I was younger and I wasn't as experienced, obviously, and going through as much in my life. But, when you're working with clients and working on a track and they go, I need more French horns, or I don't like that sound. And you're like, really? I mean, that was the best part of the track. And, when you're young, dealing with that, it took the love out of it for me. And I got frustrated with it. And, sometimes you have great gigs, sometimes you have really shitty gigs. And, so I'm glad it's come back, because I have a whole new appreciation for it. And I think for those of us who are out there working another job, because I still work another job, having music as a practice, even if you do 20 minutes a day, whatever you can do, it's so important. It's just so important.
Awesome. Well, okay, so let's go back to, you did the sync mastery course.
Yeah.
You took the courses.
Yep.
How did that go for you? What was your first playlist like? What was it like to just start reaching out to music libraries, or had you already done that before?
No. Actually, I had some weird, because I had jazz band charts, a long time ago. Hey, Clint. I get every once in a while I get these weird royalties from like Japan or Israel, and they're playing one of my tracks on, Dancing with the Stars in Israel. And I was like, kind of interesting. But going through the thing with Anthony, what happened was, you really hone down on that playlist, on your 5 song playlist, and getting his feedback is great. And, I think what I learned going through it, I mean, I learned a lot, but it's just, and I think Anthony says this a lot, which is just send it out. Just send it out. It's good enough, And so I did his, I had 100, part of the sync mastery is we're sending out, the last 4 weeks or so, we're sending out, he wants 3 to 5 publishers a day. And then, we meet on Wednesday nights at 9:00 and how'd it go? Who'd you hear from? And I probably sent out in that time between 50 and 60 inquiries and demo reels and stuff like that. And what happened was I heard back from one initially, Atomica Music, which was a great company, and ended up doing my first album for them. And it was an album of pop instrumentals. That's kind of where I landed with my playlist with Clint's masterclass. Was okay. I kind of a pop instrumental guy, so just stay with that. And I'll share this with you guys because it was an interesting way I came across Atomica, which is I joined the Production Music Association, PMA, as a composer member for $99. And what that did was give me access to their whole membership list. And so I literally just went down and looked at who their members were. I thought, well, this is where I'm going to start. These guys are serious enough to be part of the conversation, part of the industry group. And Atomica was one of those companies in there. So that Production Music Association, PMA, is really, really a great resource. They also do what's called Mark Awards every year, I think is what they're called. And there's different categories for different genres of music and things like that. So if you do trailers or if you do, classical, whatever, that's a great resource to see who was nominated, who, because it tells you exactly what publishing companies are doing in that lane. So I got that through my outreach. Let me go back to, I've got my notes here because I don't want to get lost. And then I got accepted to Tune Edge, which I think a lot of folks do, and Howling and a few others, which is mainly briefs, that we get. I had about 4 months to do my Atomica album and turn that in. And then through the hub, Anthony sent a thing around to folks that there was a guy out of Texas, a company called Paint the Noise, Gil Flores, who was looking for writers to help him with some TV work that he had. And I sent my demo down there and started working with him. And that's been great. I've been working with them for about the last 14 months or so, pretty regularly on a couple of different TV shows that he has great relationships with. So that's that. And then the other thing I'll say, and I think I posted about this in the hub, is a year after I sent out my initial inquiries, I got accepted to Flavor Lab, or Producers Toolbox. And they get there's some great briefs that come out of there for CBS and some other things. But it was just, I couldn't believe when it showed up in my email box. I was like, wait. And I thought, well, maybe I followed up and I sent them something later. And it's like, no, I sent them one demo, reel on July of 2024. And then July of 2025, they're like, hey, we've listened to your reel and, welcome aboard. So, I mean, you talk about the long game. It's real, it does take time and it's discouraging at times, but it's a long game.
It is. And I wonder, I don't know. So Atomica was one of your first libraries you got signed to.
Yes.
I wonder how many people there are with that list from PMA or from Anthony Clint's course or from, XJ Will or, any of these other type things.
The legit guys.
I have a feeling that like 411 gets 1 million emails. But then once you get down to the bottom of the list to, I don't know, like something that starts with a Z, like
that's true.
They're not getting as many emails. So I would say anybody new to the hub, start from the bottom up.
That's a great idea. Start around the M's, maybe. It did hit it a different way every time. No, you're right. You're right.
Yeah. Most of my placements have come from SMI, like Sound Manipulations Inc., and they're towards the bottom of the list. So, hey.
Okay.
Or mix it up, do something.
Yeah. Randomize it. Randomize the list.
Yeah. All right, so you know what? Let's go ahead and listen to some music. Let's go ahead and hop into what you were talking about. Your first playlist was a pop track. Looks like we have 2 tracks to choose from here, though. We got NFL hip hop. So You're Going Down is the first one.
Okay.
And then Above the Waves, Underwater.
You know what? Let's do Above the Waves because that's definitely this is part of the. I did this for Paint the Noise. They have a couple relationships with TV shows and. This one was done for Below Deck, and I think the tag on it is Underwater. And what happens is there's about 10 of us who work on a team, and every other week we submit cues to Paint the Noise, and then they review them and send them on to the folks who produce Below Deck. But there's like 5 or 6 different genres of cues that you can choose from, and one of them was Underwater, which is basically the transition shots where a drone or a camera will come out of water and come up onto the boat.
Oh, gotcha.
And so they want specific, and they had specific references for it. So that's what this was for, and it got accepted. It hasn't played yet, but this has got accepted and for Below Deck.
That is my wife and my favorite show that we watch together
Oh, you're
every week.
kidding!
Yeah, so that's great. And
Oh,
I've seen others in the hub with Below Deck placements, so that's awesome. Maybe I'll
it's
see if I
all
can
from it all came from
yeah.
it all came from Anthony.
Ah,
He turned us on to Gil, and Gil's another guy who's just a wonderful mentor and just a great guy. So, but yeah, that'd be a good track because that's very similar to what I sent around for my first playlist.
awesome. Okay, let me find it here. Okay. Share tab audio. Let's go.
All
Above the
right, here we go.
waves.
There we go.
There we go. My horn is delayed. I don't have a, Clint's just got the button he hits.
Yeah. Oh, the DJ horn. Oh my god,
That was
I love
awesome.
it. Oh,
Um,
thanks.
the first thing I noticed with that one is the clean mix. So do you have a lot
Hmm.
of like audio engineering experience, or how did you learn how to mix so well?
I don't. How do I do it? I use my ears and I use as few plugins as possible. I think what I've learned is by watching and reading and other, these sounds that we're using today, from the drums to the synths to any sample. I mean, they're so well recorded and well done. They don't need a lot. There's a guy on Mix with the Masters. I think it's Mix with the Masters is a great website. And there's a guy out of Atlanta, Leslie Braithwaite, who's a great mixer. He does Beyonce and lots of, but I've watched a few of his mixing tutorials and he's got one plugin on the bass. You know what I mean? He's got maybe, and he's got this, and it's like, you can overthink it so much,? And so I just kind of go, what's clean, what works, minimal. I'm a very minimalist. I like to let the mix sit for a while and come back. And then, to be honest with you, I'm using a lot of the AI tools. I know we're going to talk about this at some point today, but Ozone, SSL just came out with some great, interesting AI powered compressor, EQ, bus compressor, a master match out of IK Multimedia. So a lot of this too, I've kind of, when we talk about AI and how we're using it, right? I've been using the, click to learn plugins from a mix perspective for a long time now. And it's really helped me because I sure as hell don't know how to master, so.
Yeah, me neither. I use an AI tool for that as well. Let's talk about AI. How are you leveraging AI we'll start with music production. So you've already touched on a few things. What are your favorites?
In terms of the plugins, those are the use. One of the best AI plugins or tools that I think maybe people don't understand that it is AI is Logic's session players, which are, now they've added synths and some other stuff, but you could put chords in and they start playing along with you. For a long time, when I had to do a lot of hip hop kind of dance kind of stuff for one of the publishers, so I would just throw on a Logic drummer session player, play around with the settings, and I would just use that as like a hold track, just a placeholder track. And 9 times out of 10, I'd end up editing a little bit, but then I would just use that track. I'm not a drum programmer. I can program some stuff, but there are some great tools like that are basically responding to what I'm telling them to do. You know what I mean? But it's like, I guess I look at I look at AI from a pure music composition perspective, right? Let's talk about that for a minute, because there's the production aspect, which is different. But from a pure composition standpoint, when I first started writing tracks, I would have to go into the studio with a bunch of musicians, and I'd hire session guys, and they were guitar players, bass players, and they didn't know what they were going to play today, but they would look at the chart, and they were smart enough and good enough that they would try and do different things, and they would bring this piece of music to life. Right now, we're all doing that ourselves in our bedrooms, but I look at AI as like a cheap, inexpensive session player who I'm getting ideas from. I use Suno. I'm not using it. I'm not taking any of the actual tracks from it. But I'll tell you how I use Suno. When I'm stuck and I just can't hear anything more on something I'm working on, I'll take 8 bars, 16 bars, throw it up to Suno and see what it comes back with. Because maybe it's got something that I'm not thinking about. If I'm looking for a B section, sometimes if I have a track like the below deck stuff and some of the Paint the Noise stuff has a very specific structure that we follow, and it's every track has to be formatted that way. But a lot of other publishers want an A and a B section, and so if I'm stuck on a B section, sometimes I'll throw it up into Suno. And if I want to do a quick demo of a song, I'm not a singer at all. I mean, I can kind of carry a tune, but if I can do a piano voice demo of a song I'm working on, and then have Suno demo it for me so I can kind of hear how they would take it. So, I mean, listen, it's here, man. It's here, and we got to figure out how we use it. I mean, I'm sure there will be TV shows that are just using AI music, and what are you going to do? I think it's going to get old real quick. I think it's a novelty right now from a music standpoint and from a video standpoint, things like that. But I think I'm super excited about what it's going to do for us as independent solo music creators, because it's it's mind blowing. And I got to tell you, some of the stuff that Suno is turning out is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it, but it's really good.
Yeah. It's an interesting, it's interesting to see where all of this is going to lead. Like, you can try to predict it, but you really can't. Like if you watch a sci-fi movie that was made in the 90s of what they thought it would be like today, they're wrong.
I know.
So it's kind of hard to predict. But there is definitely, because you're kind of touching on a point where, you don't need session musicians for the creation process. And it makes me wonder, there's something about somebody that spends hours and hours and hours of practicing their craft. Like if you see a Prince performance, for example, just watching him play the guitar or sing or whatever, performing, there's something there that, how do I put it? Like, nourishes your soul a little bit more than what you might hear on Suno or something that you create, using an AI tool.
Listen, I think that's the big differentiator. I mean, as soon as AI starts creating music with a heart, we got bigger problems. You know what I mean? I mean, I was watching, you watched Justin Bieber on the Grammys, right? I mean, just a guitar, an 808, and a loop machine, and just the performance was unbelievable. You can't create that. There will always be cheap imitations. There will always be companies that want to, cheap on their budgets. By the way, the people who are going to use AI music are people who will use AI music in TV shows are probably not people we'd want to work for anyways, because they have no respect for the process. And there's going to be AI movies, I'm sure, but you know what? Who's going to go see those after a couple of them? You want to see the art movies. You want to see where a director is bringing their story to life and an actor is telling the story. I think as long as, again, the minute AI starts replacing our heart and our feelings, then we're going to be in bigger trouble. But right now, I was joking in the hub when I said I'm the AARP guy here, but I'm 61. I grew up in the 70s and the 80s. 80s was when I started making music for a living, and MIDI had just kind of become a thing and kind of become accepted. I had a cakewalk MIDI sequencer program that I ran on a Commodore 64 computer, and by the way, that's 64 megabytes, not gigabytes. And then samplers came with the emulator and oh God, I can't remember the other one. But the point is, like, I remember going, well, samplers and MIDI are going to get rid of musicians' jobs, right? That was the 80s, 90s kind of thing. Well, where would we be today without samplers and MIDI? And it's kind of the same thing with AI. I mean, I think it's gonna definitely put some people out of work, but I think as a creator, whether you're a YouTuber or you're a filmmaker or a writer or a journalist or whatever, you have to know how to do so many more things now, right? You got to not only be able to write, you got to play, you got to produce, you got to engineer, you got to mix, you got to master, you got to do stems, and then you got to label it right. You do, so anything that AI can help me do my job better, I'm all for. And I think I'm really excited by what AI is doing. I think people will be ripping stuff off. Your music's probably been, used to train. Mine has, but how are we going to stop that? Honestly, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying it would stop it. I'm saying, like, I think so right now, like, it's saturated, right? Like,
Yes.
music is saturated. Music has lost its value to some people, right? I think what's going to happen, and like I said, you can't predict the future, but I think people are going to hear so many songs that sound the same, so many compositions that sound the same. Finding something unique, organic that can only come from somebody perfecting their craft is going to be super valuable and rare. And when you run across it, that's what people are going to be craving.
Yeah. Our art has always been valuable, right?
Yeah.
And art is still valuable today. A painting is still valuable today, even though AI could create something. So it's all about it's all about the human. I was talking about the practice earlier, right? It's that we are the vessels for some reason. We are the music vessels of the universe. Not to sound too out there, but the point is, okay, we're the music people. Well, we should be making music, And again, as soon as AI replaces that, we got bigger problems, man.
Yeah. So, kind of taking it back to your sync, what you're doing with sync now. What are you excited for in the future? Like, what's maybe some projects you have out there that you're just waiting to get picked up, or what's on the horizon? What do you plan on doing?
Well, so I do sync part-time, like you. My goal is to be a sync producer in retirement, which will be, a couple of years off. But what I'm doing right now is I am very committed to Paint the Noise and that team there, and they keep me very busy. We're doing about 5 cues every other week, and then answering briefs as they come in. And so I think for me, what I'm trying to do is, so I kind of have a lane, it's that pop lane that you just heard, and what I've been trying to do is try to take on things that are going to push me. Like, I give you an example. One of the new seasons of one of these shows is going to be in Thailand, and there was a request for Thai hip hop music, right? I'm like, okay, what is Thai hip hop? And I kind of Googled it, and I'm like, I don't know. And I put it into AI. I actually took the wording from the brief and put it in. How would you describe this? And it was like, oh, well, what it would be is basically typical hip hop, but you got to add some traditional Thai instruments. Okay, well, what are those? I don't know. I mean, I'm thinking bells or flutes or, oh no, it's these 3 things. And so to me, it was like, oh, okay, this is a fun challenge, right? I'm going to do, and that's, again, I'm using AI all the time, but it's almost like an assistant or a collaborator to go, tell me what should I learn about this? And then, by the way, it also called out, oh, hey, here are the 2 or 3, Thai hip hop artists who actually use traditional Thai instruments in their music, and it's like, oh, great, okay, that's what I needed. You and I would have spent days looking for that. So I'm trying to find opportunities when they come through that push me out of that zone. And actually, it's a good lead up to this next track, the other track that I have called "You're Going Down," which is, I'm a white guy from Chicago, right? I'm and I had this idea for a track, and it was a sports track because I was starting to get briefs from for sports stuff, and they were good. They were like CBS, and I'm like, oh, I got to do this, but they wanted songs, and I had an idea for a song. I did a really bad, rough demo of the hook, which was "You're Going Down," and I had listened to Travis T, who's a Hub member, but he had a really great interview with Anthony at one point when Anthony was doing podcasts. I don't think he's even doing those anymore. See how old I am, and but I just really liked Travis's attitude, and he was just a cool guy. And then I noticed he was in the Hub, and we connected a few times, and I told him I appreciated his interview. And long story short, I had sent him one track that I thought would be cool for a rap, and he did it, and we really liked each other and enjoyed working together. And we kind of had a deal like, all right, let's just keep the door open. If you send me something. So I sent him the rough demo of this track, and he took it and ran with it. And so this was kind of pushing my boundaries. Although it's kind of it's a little bit marching band, it's a little bit hip hop, and it's a lot of Travis T.
Okay. All right. That's a perfect segue. Let's get right into it. All right, let's go. Let me share my screen.
This was pitched and accepted for the NFL.
Oh, perfect.
It hasn't played yet. It hasn't played. This is the one that Travis and I are waiting for it yet. But
all right, here we go.
All right.
We're going down.
We're going down.
Travis T, Steve Mochel. Let's go.
I know you don't think you can stop the movement that's coming. Nope. Better be cautious, cause we ready just to battle. Competition, not an issue, you can't compete. Out game, out power, just face the feed. This a notice and a message to stand down. Watch your back, game over when we around. You're going down. No, you can't stop us. I bet you won't. I know you don't think you can play with us. You're going down. No, you can't stop us. I bet you won't. I know you don't think you can play with us. You can do when we battle with you. You're going down. No, you can't stop us. I bet you won't. I know you don't think you can play with us. You're going down. No, you can't stop us. I bet you won't. I know you don't think you can play with us. Man down. Man down. There's nothing you can do when we battle with you. You're going down. No, you can't stop us. I bet you won't. I know you don't think you can play with us. You're going down. No, you can't stop us. I bet you won't. I know you don't think you can play with us. Man down. Man down. You're going down. You're going down.
By the way, Michael O'Connor has a great. I didn't even think about that, Michael, about the Batman show. You're so right, man. You must be my age.
Oh yeah. He's one of us. He's a little bit older.
All right.
All right, here we go. A lot of fire emojis. Yeah, that was incredible. That was
fun. Yeah, Travis just killed it. I mean, and it's interesting. The Hub has really made me comfortable reaching out to folks to collaborate. And it might make sense for me to talk a little bit about how Travis and I kind of went through the process. So we connected, via email. And then he said to me, listen, if you ever have anything, you want to send my way, do it. And, you never know what to do with those kind of things, right? Like, okay. And I thought, well, you know what? I really like his stuff. I'm going to do it. And I sent him a track and he's like, oh, I think I can do something with this. But he said, let's set up a call. And so, we had a really great 30-minute Zoom call where we got to look each other in the eye and get to know each other a little bit and get to know each other's background. And it really helped us with the collaboration because it's like, okay, we got to know each other and it wasn't long, but it was like we immediately connected. And what we kind of agreed to after that first track was, I'll send you stuff when I think you could use it. And what would happen interesting recently was I sent him something and I said, here's what I think this is, and I did a demo and he wrote me back going, I don't hear it. I can't feel this one. Right. And he said in his note, I think it's more of an instrumental. But I'm like, okay, well, I respect that. Right. Well, guess what? I ended up just pitching it as an instrumental for a sports track. And he's right. It didn't work as the idea I had. And I've got another one that I'm working on, but it was nice to have an honest back-to-back. And we kind of each said, listen, if you send me something I don't feel, I'm going to just be honest with you. And it's not a personal, like, I don't think this is a good track or anything. It's like, can I bring something to this or not? And I think that's going to be really important with collaboration. Just to make sure that you're honest, and if it's not in your wheelhouse, say it and say, but I'd like to try or something like that,
Yeah. Collaboration has been the big theme of 2025, and then that's what we were talking about at the Shades of Sync conference. Were you there? I don't.
No, I don't want to talk about it. I want to be there. I will be there next year.
Okay, you live in Atlanta now?
No. I live in South Florida.
In South Florida. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. I know you said like Nashville and then Atlanta, and then I guess you went down to Florida. So you.
Well, so it was Chicago, Nashville, Atlanta, New York, and I was in New York for 25 years, New York City, Connecticut, and then now that I'm getting older, we're down in Florida.
All right. So you just keep, try to get warmer and warmer as you go.
Exactly.
All right. But yeah, that was the big theme. And like there's in the hub, there's a collaboration like section in the chats, right?
Yeah.
People looking for collaborators. I found amazing people to collaborate with, like made some sports tracks similar, Phil DeReal, Michael Connor did some strings on one of my tracks, like amazing talent here. So what are your like tips for finding good people to collaborate with and then like keeping the lane of communication open and that type of thing?
Yeah.
I like the Zoom call was a good one.
Yeah. And that's an easy one, right? But I think, meet your collaborator and get to know them. So that's first and foremost. I had no notes for Travis. He sent me his track and he's such a pro. It was so good. I chopped some stuff up. I moved some stuff around and I sent it to him and I'm like, hey, is this okay? You feel like this is good? He's like, oh yeah, I think I like that. But I think, got to keep the lines open. I think the most important thing is don't be afraid to reach out. I think, I have more confidence now because, I've had some catalog. You know what it is? It's like there's stages of acceptance, right? Mm-hmm. So I got involved in the hub and everything, or with Anthony and everything. But then I got that first album deal, and I was like, oh wow, I don't know these people. They don't know my music. They don't know me from a hole in the wall. They don't know I'm a 6-year-old guy, and they want me to do an album. Okay, that's pretty cool. And then there was a couple more that came through. I was like, oh wow. And then the next one is like a year later when all of a sudden TuneSat finally pops up and it goes, you have mail. Your show's actually, your music's actually playing on TV. And that's the next one where you go, oh man, that's so cool. You see the payoff, but it's a long journey. And so you're talking about collaboration. I think, getting the split sheets done right up, it's always 50-50 in terms of what I'm doing with somebody. Split sheets are easy. But get the paperwork done. But I think the most important thing is don't be afraid to reach out. I guess my point before was, I think when I started, I had an imposter syndrome like everybody did. Like, okay, I think this is pretty good. And my mom thinks it's good. And my wife likes it. But, and yeah, some of my friends think it's good, but, I don't know. Mm-hmm. Just do it. Send it out. It's much better than you think it is.
Well, there's two sayings that I hear. I follow a guy named what is his name? Ryan Dial or something like that. There's he's called the Mindset Mentor. And
Okay.
two things that he says is consistency beats talent.
Hmm.
And the other thing is done is better than perfect. So both of those things kind of follow along what you're saying. And most of the time when we're procrastinating, it's fear holding us back. Like
100%.
perfectionism is just another version of procrastination because you're scared of what people are going to say. So you got to face that fear, I guess, and
Yeah,
get it out there.
yeah, and I think you know what we were talking about mixing earlier, and you asked me how I got to be, I'm a good mixer or whatever. But I think I've gotten to the point where done is good enough, and that's a really important part to get to and part of it's because I'm on a schedule now, and I know by Thursday at noon I got to have my tracks down to to the team.
Mhm.
So you know what, that snare drum, I don't have 3 hours to work on the snare drum. I got 5 minutes. You know what I mean? And you know what? It's not going to sound any better after 3 hours than it sounds after 5 minutes. And part of it's like, you know what? Think about how we're listening to music. We're not always listening like this, hearing everything. If the snare drum is off a little bit, nobody's going to know. Or if it's the wrong snare drum. So I think, what was it again? Finished is better than
Done
good
is
is done
done
it.
is
Yeah,
better
yeah.
than perfect. Yes.
That's so true.
Yeah,
That's
yeah,
so
yeah.
true. And that's a hard one to get over. Like, oh, it's just not good enough. Yes, it is. It's good enough. Send it out and start working on the next one, because the next one will be even better. And the next one will be even better. And even the ones that sound shitty, you're going to learn something from that you will make the next one sound even better.
Yeah, there you go. And that's what Clint's Friday night shows are for too. You always get feedback on your music,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
what I like about the way that Clint reviews the music is like some people will review music more to is it their taste in music
Yeah.
or not. But
Yeah.
he's got this pretty objective view on it of he's just done so many placements and done so much work for TV and film that he just looks at it more as will it fit in a scene? Will it help tell the story? Is it formatted correctly and all of that? So the feedback you're getting is not do I like your music because it's my type of music? It's
Right.
is your music ready for TV and film? And if it's not, he'll give you like a couple of tips and pointers. So it's pretty good.
Yeah, and I think that's the other thing we learned in particularly in the Sync Master class we were talking about. There's a home for everybody. You know what I mean? And you're right. It's like, okay, the two tracks that I played for you played of mine people may not like them. That's okay. But the point is somebody's doing string work, and I wish I could do that kind of great traders kind of, or whatever the show is. I can't do that kind of string work, or I love the briefs that come out of Tune Edge because they'll get the craziest. We need authentic Italian polkas from 1950. For a Scorsese movie. You know what I mean? It's like, okay, well, who can do that? Well, you know what? Trust me, there's somebody out there in Sync who knows how to do that. Probably Michael Connor.
He probably could pull it off.
Yeah.
I've seen him pull off some stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you mentioned TuneSat before, like you'd seen some detections and you got really excited when you saw those first detections. What placement have you been most excited about so far that you were like, oh crap, I got on this show or anything?
Below Deck Mediterranean.
Yeah.
I'm a huge Captain Sandy fan. So yeah, no, I'm with you. That was like, and it was good. I had been working on the show submitting to the show for about 14 months. And my family all knew I was working on it and stuff. And they're like, hey, when's your music going to be on? When's your music? I'm like, I don't know. And all of a sudden it was like, oh, great. And it's Captain Sandy on top of it. So, and I think, again, long haul, right? So I got a Food Network placement from the Atomica album. 13 months from submission of the album to airing of the first episode of that. Same thing with the Below Deck, turned in December of 2023, played in 2024, played in January of 2026. 13 months, so it takes some time, and so that's why sticking with it, doing whatever you can do, even if it's 10 minutes, even if it's just playing with your plugins for a day so that, you did some time in front of your computer. Don't get too lost in the plugins, but.
Right. That is a great, I always use this and people are probably sick of me using this analogy, but I think it's perfect for Sync. bamboo. So when you plant bamboo, it takes 4 years for it to actually break earth and start sprouting up. So, and during those 4 years, it's building like this intricate web of root systems and all of
That's
that kind of
great.
stuff, right? Sync is the same way. And the more like you're just building, you're building and you're building and you're building and you're getting your music out there, you're getting them into music libraries.
Yep.
Like you said, 13 months later, it may be in a show. Great. But when it airs again, I think you get like half of the royalties, like when it's a rerun, that type
Mhm.
of thing, especially if it's on a major network. Then you may get one song. This is what happened to me that gets like picked for a certain every time this segment comes up, they use this song. So your song's on like every episode of something, right? That's, you're just getting royalties after royalties for that. Then that same song could get picked up in another show or this show, and you just got all these seeds and all this intricate network of roots that
Yeah.
you're building. So you may just see a sprout here and there, like 2 bamboo stalks, and be like, oh man, this isn't working. But think of all those roots and all the groundwork that you've laid and all the work that you've done. It will pay off. It just takes time.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the main thing. And by the way, bamboo 5 years later is overtaken your yard. So,
Yeah.
that's it just grows out and it's overabundant. But no, I agree with you. And it's hard, Everybody gets discouraged, That's why don't quit your day job, do that and pay the bills and then make this your practice or your passion that you love, because you can also make money at it. I mean, you're doing it, you'll be there before we know it, But
Yeah.
it's a long game.
And we're old, and when we're dead, our family will get money.
Exactly. What else can we leave them?
Right. No, it's pretty cool. It's a good retirement plan. I like it.
Yeah,
I'm
yeah.
trying to
Hey, I
build the
gotta keep
same
busy.
thing.
Yeah, man.
That's awesome. So I think we touched on it a little bit, but let me ask this: Flavor Lab, is
Yeah.
that a music library or more of a like sync agent type company?
So no, it's a library. I think they go by Producer Toolbox and Flavor Lab. There's a couple different names, but they're out of New York. And again, I got that. I think that's on maybe through Sync Master or something like that. But they send briefs out, and they're good briefs. I think maybe Anthony turned us on to them or something like that. But it's produced. If you look under Flavor Lab or Producer's Toolbox,
Okay.
I think it's out of an editing lab in New York. But I got that through Sync Mastery.
All right. The only reason I bring it up is if I ever got a piece of music on Below Deck, my wife would go nuts. So I might.
You know what? I'll connect with you on that.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're watching the new season. Chef Ben is back. If you haven't heard.
Yeah,
All
I know. I watch every Tuesday night to see if I hear a track. That's I can't wait for TuSat. I'm like, did I hear it? Did I hear it? Was that 6 seconds?
Yeah. All right. Well, cool. So we're towards the end of the hour.
Yeah.
Is there any before I normally I do a spiel at the end to let anybody know that's watching this more about the Sync Producer Hub. But before I do that, is there any parting words that you'd like to, maybe advice you'd like to share, or parting words?
Oh, advice. Don't take it too seriously. Don't get overly serious, particularly on snare drums, and just get your music out there. You know what? The world needs art right now. They need art more than ever, whether it's protest art, whether it's just art to make you forget. I just realized how important music is to me to just relax. And so, you know what? The best thing you can do for yourself and for all of us is to get your music out there. I think that's really important. You wouldn't be here. You have the gift. You're here and you're doing it and you're serious. So, you know what? Somebody out there wants to hear it. That's what I would say.
Perfect. That's great advice. So if you are a music producer or you're an artist or a composer or musician or something like that, and you want to know more about how to get your TV or your music into TV and film on shows like Below Deck, like Steve has, all you have to do is click the link that's in the description and you can learn more about it. We're all part of the Sync Producer Hub, which is run by Anthony Clint Jr. He's put together an onslaught of courses, AI tools, programs, community. Like I said, you can meet great collaborators in this group. Sometimes he'll even share some briefs that came, like he had, I think he was doing some music for Little Kevin.
Yeah.
And he had all of these deadlines that Clint needed to hit, and he reached out to the hub for help, right? So he'll bring you opportunities. So it's definitely a great community to be a part of. Just click the link and learn more. Steve, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for sharing your story. We really
Yeah, man.
appreciate it.
Thank you, Jason. This has been really fun. And I'm going to reiterate what you said about the hub. It is a great, great environment. There's no bullshit there. It's just good people wanting to help each other out and so much to learn. So many smart, good people there. So, yeah, see you in the hub.
All right.